happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there, and also we just are celebrating women today in general, which is great. I love women. I hope that you do too. We're excited to be here this morning and just to be able to worship together. If you will, please turn your hymnals to number 174, and we'll just begin our worship with His Name is Wonderful. Just the one thing we should start out with this morning, just being grateful for Jesus. Stand and sing with us.
Welcome those of you watching us online. Comment, like, or love. Leave us some prayer requests. We'd love to pray for you and keep you included in our online community. A few announcements to make this morning, things that are happening. First of all, we celebrate women today of all kinds, and we'll be talking about that here in a little bit. Also, though, it's also Pie Load You Pickup today, so if you haven't got your pies, they are in the fellowship hall, and you can pick up your pie and be able to enjoy that. And thanks to Susan who made those pies. That's her gift to everyone. Last Wednesday night, this Wednesday night, and we're having burgers, dogs, chips, salad, and dessert. So it's our last one. Can't believe we're already at the end of the semester, but we are here. That also means it's time for some barbecue. Memorial Day weekend. You can pre-order your barbecue with the form inside of here. Also, the online form will go active on Monday. You can also sign up there, but don't sign up both places. And you can pick it up on Saturday between 12 and 3. See all the details on the insert. Also on the insert this morning, you'll see a couple other things that are happening, including Presley Eastwood is having her graduation party next Saturday. And then she'll be with us in worship, too, on Sunday, so we can recognize her and pray over her and celebrate with her. So if you're going to come to this, if you'd let Jeannie know, she'd love to know you're coming, so she can plan an appropriate amount of food. Just RSVP to the information you see here. Then open mic night's coming up at the end of May, so that'll be here before you know it. And Feed the Need is June the 8th. So we'll gather together to feed several hundred families and have an opportunity to be able to serve our neighbors in all that we do. And then a few things that are happening inside of our connection. This is military. It's actually First Responder Month in May, and so we're putting together some care kits for military and police. And there's more information about that going on in here, as well as a few other things that are happening, including our prayer list. So we take all of these things this morning and we soak in God's Spirit and God's presence. I'm going to ask you something very different. A couple months ago, I was at a training talking about breathing, and part of one of the things is that when we talk about Ruach in the Bible, the Spirit of God, Spirit comes from the gut. Not from our head, not from our nose or from our mouths, but breathing comes from the gut. Usually when we breathe, we don't breathe from the gut. And so what I want you to do is something in a minute. I want you to take a deep breath in a minute. You take a big deep breath, and I want you to breathe out through your gut. So you'll push out your stomach and you'll actually breathe out. And that's what it means to breathe from the Spirit. You'll notice the difference in a second when we do it. So I want you to breathe in, a big breath, and through your gut. See, you feel it? Do it one more time. Feel the difference? Makes you tingle all over and everything like that. That's the Spirit of God. That's real breathing. So let's breathe from the Spirit this morning, not just from our nose or from our mouth, but from the Spirit of the living God. seated. Let us join in the prayer of confession and pray in your bulletin this morning as we confess before the Lord our God. Let us confess together. We rejoice in the wonder of your resurrection, O Christ, but then tend to sink back into our old ways of thinking, behaving, responding to people's needs. We can dance with the angels and all humankind on Easter Sunday, but the days following the day of resurrection cause us to slip back into apathy or despair. Forgive us when we so easily become distracted by our own cares and worries that we ignore the needs of others around us. Forgive us when we forget your power and love for us. Charge us up, O Lord. Set our hearts to dancing. Give us a spirit for rejoicing, willing hearts and hands for helping, voices for praising you forever. Amen. Sing, shout, rejoice. Jesus calls you to serve because of his love for you. He believes in you and all the gifts you have been given. Do not be afraid. Christ is with you always. Amen. We celebrate some amazing things and joys that have happened. Just last Sunday, we brought the joy of the children leading us in worship, but it was an amazing time. And there was some silliness afterwards some of you may have not seen, being turned to Human Sundays. We have several videos of that, but there's the one video we just chose to do is Jared and I doing this. And so, Davis. Pretty sure that was against the rules. When your introverted pastor gets tired of breaking down and starts counting.
Children's ministry.
I warned them I was a slinger, so when I get done, everything that's in that swimming pool is going to be on them. It was. So, but we also got some awesome thank you cards, and I'll just read this card. It was awesome, and so I think Stephanie paid everybody on here to say something. Thank you for letting Stephanie do the job. Thank you for hiring Stephanie. She is awesome, and thank you so much for loving me. Now, there's some great stuff in here, but I want to thank Stephanie and the whole crew for last Sunday. It was amazing. We'll unveil what we gave here in a little bit, but it was an amazing time. So it was a great joy, a great celebration. The kids did a wonderful job last Sunday. How about some birthdays? Everybody celebrating birthdays this week? this week? Yeah, still.
2 years for being today.
Yay, 2 years! A lot longer than that. It's been a decade. Right? Yeah? Congratulations. Kathy.
I was in Virginia, got to share my brother's birthday and wedding anniversary on the same day, last Sunday.
Yeah.
He was 66 and was married 49 years.
Wow, awesome. Got to celebrate brother's wedding anniversary and his birthday while she was in Virginia seeing him. So I'm glad you had a good trip. Very good. Also, give me something powerful, something God's been doing in your life you want to share as we gather here. Anything else? Bev. Yeah, Thursday is graduation night for Little Lamb, so 20-odd some of them will be coming through here and doing all kinds of awesome stuff. You have a guest next to you too, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, Betty's here today. It's awesome. Betty's back with us. Ray and Carolyn are going for a twofer, so that's good. That's awesome. So keep it up. That's awesome. Very good. Well, these are great celebrations of things this morning. They're probably things you'll think of later and all that. But always look for the good things in life. Always look for the joys that God gives to us. And you've decided to do something, Patsy. What, Patsy? What do you want? Yes. Glad you guys are here. Celebrating little Mother's Day, looks like, probably, yeah. Having a good time. Very good. Glad you're here. We're glad you're here. And you have Autumn home. Autumn is home, see? And Ray wants to say something. Yeah, definitely. Prayers come from that. And we're definitely continue to pray for you guys as you continue on the journey. That's awesome. So some things we also bring together are our prayers, and we look at our prayer list and those that we're praying for, and we think about all the other pieces that go along with just being in life together. And we think about all of the folks who ask for prayers from us that are in our classes, and our families, those outside of the church, those in the world. Prayers are powerful for us. It's an important thing. When these folks ask from us for prayers, then we need to continue to give those prayers to them. And so we gather those things up, and there are many more that we can mention at any moment in time, but they all center around God. And they all center around that God asks us to be in communication, and to even know that God knows all those things. There's something about saying it with our own lips that's important as we gather this morning. So I want us to take all the things in our hearts. You look at the prayer list if you want to when you're praying, and pray for each name individually as we spend some time in silent prayer, and just focus in on this time of prayer and being closer to God in these moments. Lord, as we gather this morning, we think about all of those listed on our prayer requests and our connection each week. Think about all those in our own hearts. We think about all the things in our world that so need prayer. We think also about ourselves in these moments that we have the great opportunity to connect with you in this place of worship, to be centered around your Spirit, to come here and connect with you. So often we take that for granted. The opportunity we have for you to be our friend, to be our confidant and our guide. We have to confess that we don't like listening to your ways, and we very often conveniently forget the things that you tell us about what truth looks like and what love is, and where we find forgiveness. But we're thankful that in the midst of our failures, you don't fail us. We're thankful that we have opportunity to come to you and that grace continues to be poured out lavishly with great cost. You gave your life for each one of us. You called us friend. You gathered us together to give us new life. So we're thankful that you continue to pour that new life into us, that you at least attempt to do that, even when we don't seem to be able to receive it. So this morning we also return to you the names of those in our hearts and the hearts of others who have great need right now, who need to hear their names lifted up. We know the importance and the power of prayer in the lives of those who are in need. And so we don't speak each one by name, but we see each one on our paper in front of us. We see each one listed in our hearts. We hear the unspoken ones inside of our souls. And we gather them all up to you as a love offering today, from our heart to yours. Pour into each one, each request, each family, each situation. Allow us to be present and help in the ways that we can help. Most of all, allow us to take time out of our days to spend in communication with you. To say the words that you taught the disciples to say, that have become the words generation to generation that have spoken most about what it means to speak to you. And those words begin by saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. gather our offerings to God this morning, then one of the biggest offerings we gather together is the celebration of the women in our lives. In the tradition that we've created here, we don't call it Mother's Day in that same sense because there are so many women in our lives that don't qualify in those categories in the same way. In our house, a step-parent house, there isn't a Mother's Day, as with our mother. And so there really isn't a day set aside for Susan, for instance. There are other people that Mother's Day is very hard, and the church never make it any harder. It should always find a way to be able to celebrate and also mourn with those of which Mother's Day is tough. Some of these mothers in the picture, Susan's mom is up top with her, and Natalie, her sister-in-law, and Hadley, our niece, and my mom's down at the bottom. My sister is in the second chair, and so my sister's a single mom. And so she also has a hard time Mother's Day. It's hard. So we need to always remember that's why we don't celebrate the oldest mom, the youngest mom, and all those kind of things, because I want to celebrate all women. All the women in our lives. There are many people who don't have kids, but they're still moms. So I want to spend just a moment reflecting back in our own lives about those who have been spiritual and physical moms to us, and settle those in our minds, and say a few words of prayer for all the kinds of moms that exist in the world on this day and any other day. So let's focus on closing our eyes, focusing on the moms in your life, your portraits, and just soak in for a moment the celebration of them, but also perhaps the hurt, the loss, but just taking it all in because we don't know all of the journeys that we have been down. Lord, we offer our thanks to the moms who are struggling and to those filled with incandescent joy. To those who gave birth this year to their first child, we celebrate with you. To those who lost a child this year, we mourn with you. To those who are in the trenches with little ones every day and wear the badge of food stains, we appreciate you. To those who experienced loss this year through death, miscarriage, failed adoptions, running away, we mourn with you. To those who walk the hard path of infertility, fraught with pokes and prods and tears and disappointment, we walk with you. Forgive us when we say foolish things. We don't mean to make this harder than it is. To the moms who decided other parents were the best choice for their babies. To the moms who adopted those kids and loved them fierce. To those who were foster moms, mentor moms, and spiritual moms, we need you. To those who mothered anyone who needed it as a mentor mom and spiritual moms, we thank you. To those who have warm and close relationships with your children, we celebrate you. To those who have disappointment, heartache, and distance with your children, we sit with you. To those remembering moms no longer with us this year and in years past, we grieve with you. To those who are moving forward from having experienced abuse at the hands of your mother, who should have cared for you or did not show love, we acknowledge your experience. To those who will have emptier nests in the upcoming year, we grieve and rejoice with you. To those who are pregnant with new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate with you. To those who live through driving tests, medical tests, and the overall testing of motherhood, we are better for having you in our midst. To the single dads doing their best to raise their children as a mom too, we see you trying. And to the step, bonus, or whatever you want to call the moms who raise children who are their own in every way except biologically, but don't have a huge day, we celebrate your balancing act. There is no card for those moms. Today is a day to honor the unyielding love and care for others we call motherhood. Wherever we have found it, in whatever ways we have found to cultivate it within ourselves and in others, we celebrate. And on this day to celebrate all women, including mothers, we walk with you. Mothering, no matter what the kind, is not for the faint of heart. And we have real warriors in our midst. We are thankful for all the women who have been involved in our lives and who have been our mothers. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. And the people of God said together, Amen. So women, we celebrate you today and all that you do in our lives. And there is a special gift for you. You didn't receive it on the way in. The men have gathered together to collect. And I hope that you will remember your importance in our lives in so many ways. And motherhood has a very, very, very broad place in all of our lives. It's a very special one. And a chance for us to come together and be present and celebrate is great when we come to worship. And we do it together as community. Today's text talks about the disciples gathering around a charcoal fire. And this is our charcoal fire. It is the fire of the Holy Spirit that we unite around and we come together to celebrate as community. There's a blue pad on your pew that you can fill out and be able to write down the fact you've chosen to worship God today and be present in this place. If you're a guest with us here this morning, we're so glad you're also here with us this morning. We want you to write down some more information so we can contact you. We want this to be a place where everybody can belong, everybody can believe, and become exactly what it is that God created us to be. That's our goal. And so as we gather then in those moments and gather to do that this morning, then we also give financially. And one of the things that we gave financially to last Sunday was Children's Ministry Sunday. And so we're going to unveil that total for you right now. How much money was raised for Children's Ministry Sunday? $6,670.27. If you didn't get a chance to give to it, then you can still do that by putting children on a check and it'll go to the right place. But thank you so much to everybody who did something at 5,000. After that goal, that was where I got Heman Sunday for me. And then after that, we just kept going and kept going and kept going. And so it was an amazing day. And there's some amazing things that Stephanie wants to be able to do and her team. And you've empowered her to do that throughout this whole year. So she's very excited about spending your money. All the good ways. VBS is going to be amazing. So we're excited about that. It's up, registration's up for VBS, so that's an amazing thing too. And then serving, finding a place to serve. There are lots of folks serving that day in many ways, and there's always opportunity for us to serve. Our next big event is Feed the Need, where we'll serve a couple hundred people. It's a big day. It's an exciting day. So we're excited about that. And then the witness, pulling all this together. When we talk about what it means to follow Jesus, it means to live like him and to honor him by sharing the words that he gave to us with others. So when folks are involved in situations in life where you can help by bringing the light of Christ into their life, it's up to us to do that. Where those times of celebration, or there are times of despair. There is a word for all of those times, and our faith has to inform how we act, what we do, what we say. These are all of our things we give as gifts to God this morning. So let our ushers come forward and receive these things from our heads and from our hearts and from our hands.
To
Gracious God, King of all, friend, as we come this morning, we are thankful for your presence. We can gather around in community and know your love. That we can come here to connect with you in this space of worship. That we can grow to learn from your words and your ways. That we can be able to serve you and our neighbors in all that we do. And that we're able to go and spread the good news of the gospel of forgiveness and love and freedom. So Lord, hear our prayers. Feel our presence. Use our financial gifts. Use our gifts for service. And allow our bodies and our mouths, every part of us, to share in your witness. Lord, these gifts are for you. Use them for your purposes. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. And the people of God said together, Amen. You may be seated. Invite our kids to head to the back for kids worship. All right, you want to breathe again? You like the breathing? Try. Breathe in deep and breathe out. All right, just like that. Let's pray. Gracious God, center us in your spirit this morning. Let us hear the words that speak to our hearts the most. Let us take in the power of your Holy Spirit. Breathe it out to us now. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. People of God said together, Amen. It's hard to believe, but it's been 3 weeks since Easter. 2 weeks ago, we talked about Thomas and how living into Easter is about believing. To believe in. And in the stories of Jesus seeing his disciples after the resurrection, we're coming to the end of those. And there are several times that we see Jesus having conversations without them recognizing him. They don't recognize him until he does something familiar. For instance, for Mary on Easter, it was when Jesus called her name. Remember? For the disciples on the road to Emmaus in Luke's Gospel, it was when Jesus broke the bread, just like he had done at the Last Supper. And now for Peter, James, and John, and the others, now comes their moment. But especially for Peter. Today is one of the most dramatic of the post-resurrection experiences and appearances. John 21, where we're going to find ourselves today, captures the powerful rehabilitation and the reconsecration of the calling of Peter. It's a new start for him. The big fisherman with a broken heart. And at the heart of the story is Peter, the bold and the brash, who made wild and wonderful promises, only to fall short in the moment of truth, when he acted as if he did not even know Jesus. We would like to be critical of Peter, but in our heart of hearts, we know how often we have done the same thing to Jesus. Amen? That we have let him down. That we have not been with him in the time of need. Like Peter, we constantly fall short of our best intentions. We've all had those glorious dreams we were sure that would come true. Peter dreamed he'd be involved with a person who would change the world and that he would never fail. Like Peter, we have set out with great intentions only to fall short of our goals, settling for much less than we first earnestly desired. We've all hurt someone, perhaps intentionally at times, perhaps accidentally. But the pain and disappointment of letting someone down is the same, and the years never dull the ache to have let someone down in our life. to recognize Jesus. You see, sometimes we are so preoccupied by the things of the world and the things of our own life that we just can't seem to get past them. That I think that we miss the presence of Jesus that is right in front of us. That we miss when he's standing there right in us. And so it begs the question, do you miss the presence of Jesus? Are you so preoccupied with the things of this world, the things of your past, or whatever, that you just can't seem to see Jesus, and we say, well, he's not around, he's not with me. And maybe he's standing right there in front of you, but you can't see the forest for the trees. Maybe it's because he doesn't look the way we think he would. We don't always recognize Jesus. But Jesus knows how to make himself familiar to disciples. And maybe that's a problem sometimes. Maybe he's so familiar to us and just we don't even see him anymore because it's not special, it's not different, it's not new. It isn't the same for everyone, but he knows us so well that it can be made custom made. And for Peter, James, and John, it all started with fish. And so now it's all going to begin again with fish. So our gospel lesson begins with a scene of weary fishermen ending an unsuccessful night. If you're going to follow along in your Bible or on the screen or through the YouVersion Bible app, we find ourselves in John 21. After these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. And he showed himself in this way. Gathered there together were Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, so Thomas is there again, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, James and John, the fishermen, and two others of his disciples. They don't name. Simon Peter said to them, I'm going fishing. Apparently he's happy. He doesn't know what to do anymore. He only knows how to do one thing, and that's fish. So he's going to go fishing. And they're like, we'll go with you. What else have we got to do? So they went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. So the one thing that Simon Peter is good at, fishing, he is no longer good at. I can't do anything right. And so the first half of this story tells of a miraculous catch of fish, and it echoes the initial call. Because where is the first place that you see a miraculous catch of fish? It's back in Luke 5, 1 through 11, when Peter was called in the first place. That is not an accident. But this happens again in this way. That was part of the call of the disciples. In both stories, we see the disciples having fished all night, catching nothing. We see Jesus telling the disciples at dawn to cast their net. As experienced fishermen, this was so different for them. This stranger appears and gives them some unrequested advice on how they ought to fish, like he did the first time. What he says does not make sense. They do it anyways, so their nets are full. Jesus stands on the beach. The disciples do not know it's Jesus. Don't know why. Says to them, children, you have no fish, have you? Kind of the dig, right? We got no fish. They say, no. Maybe some other answers they wanted to say that weren't so nice. He said to them, cast the net to the right side of the boat and you will find some. And they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because there were so many fish. It's the same exact story that happens at the beginning of Peter's journey. As experienced fishermen, the disciples knew that fish are most easily caught in the dark of the night, not the hustle and heat of the new day. Yet the disciples once again listen to Jesus, who they don't know is Jesus, and they catch an abundance of fish. So in this post-resurrection appearance, we see Jesus giving the disciples an updated call and invite the disciples to follow him again. That's what this first part of the story is all about, remembering. Looking back, this happened to us before. The disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It's the Lord." It's always the disciple whom Jesus loved who seems to always know that it's Jesus. And when Simon Peter heard it was the Lord, he put on some clothes. What? For he was naked and jumped into the sea. I don't want to know. But the other disciples came in the boat, dragging the net full of fish, for they were not far from the land, only about 100 yards off. So if a net full of fish is not reason enough to assure them the Lord is with them, Jesus invites them to the shore where he prepared a kind of communion with bread and fish cooked over a charcoal fire. And there's a reason why it's charcoal. When they had gone ashore, they saw a charcoal fire there with fish on it and bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you have just caught." So Simon Peter went aboard and hauled the net ashore full of large fish, 153 of them. And though there were so many, the net was not torn. But it should have been. It wasn't made to hold that many fish. Why 153 is always the question. No one knows for sure. It could indicate a larger than average catch. It could indicate that it's an eyewitness account. It's so exact. Historian Jerome said there was 153 species of fish in the sea. There are 10 other different things that you can find if you go search for it online. And then Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." I mean, think about this. Jesus is lounging by the fire, making the food, and this tells them to come and have breakfast. Now, none of the disciples dared to ask him, "Who are you?" because they knew it was the Lord. And Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them and did the same with the fish. What other miraculous thing happened in the Gospels where there was bread and fish? Feeding of the 5,000, the feeding of the 4,000, where they were gathered together in community. Surely it reminded them of those moments as well. I think it's an amazing moment how Jesus, the Son of God, sits down and cares for them as a friend. I mean, can you imagine that? The Son of God sitting down with you and caring for you as a friend? We don't put God in that place very often of being that close to us. And I have a friend in Jesus kind of thing. Doesn't work for us the same way. And he cooks for them and cares for them and eats with them. And he spends some time just being with them. Just being. There's nothing else going on. They're eating and talking. And why does he do this? I mean, he must have done it. He thought it was important, right? That he would sit down. This is an important part of the story of his resurrection to them. And his appearance is sitting down with them. And it made me think, how often do I take time to be in Jesus' presence, just to be? Not to do. Not to accomplish anything, achieve anything, but just to be in Jesus' presence. Not asking, even working for Jesus, but fellowshipping. Sitting with a friend around the fire. Just talking, laughing. See, maybe it's gathered around the fire, eating and just hanging out with Jesus and each other that we find our greatest gift of presence. I mean, why is it that, many of us have fire pits where we gather together in the evenings on a crisp, cool evening, or we've gathered around fires and scouting, or we gather around fires at campsites, and something about gathering around a fire seems to engender in some way this ability to be able to be friends and to be in community. And that's what they find there. His presence. Now this was the third time that Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. But now Jesus' call after he's risen is different. The disciples have a better sense of the ministry. They know what it means to follow and serve Jesus without Jesus being physically present with them. They've had their time alone. They never thought he was coming again. He didn't say, I'm coming back 3 times to see you before I leave. Instead of being taught by Jesus now, they are the ones to be the teachers. He's not giving any lessons around the fireplace. He's telling them it's time for you to be the teachers. You're being called to teach and live in what I've taught. Now it's your turn. It's a new phase of their call in ministry. It's a reminder of where they came from and where they must go. But the critical moment is not the breakfast on the beach, even though that's a charming moment and a special one for them to all gather together as friends. It's rather those moments of dialogue that now come between Jesus and Peter. And we're not even sure who's actually listening. It doesn't say that Jesus and Peter went off by themselves to go talk. The disciples all could have been around the same fire, listening to this dialogue between Jesus and Peter, to make it even harder for Peter. Maybe rightly so. This is Peter's moment of 3 confessions and 3 commands. And there's an importance in those 3 things. I mean, imagine the fear and humiliation Peter must have experienced when he's suddenly in the presence of the Lord who he had denied at his trial in front of another charcoal fire in the high priest's courtyard. When he was warming himself and saying he never knew him after all their time together. These are the only 2 places in the gospel where charcoal fire is used. And there's a reason. From one charcoal fire to the other. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, notice he doesn't call him Peter. He says, Simon, son of John. He is at the rock right now. Do you love me more than these? He said to him, Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said to him, Feed my lambs. A second time he said to him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? He said to him, Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said to him, Tend my sheep. He said to him the third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter felt hurt because he said to him the third time, Do you love me? And he said to him, Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you. Jesus said to him, Feed my sheep. So Jesus asks Peter, Do you love me? And 3 times Peter responds, Lord, you know I love you. Assuming you can overlook that little breach of loyalty when your life was on the line and I completely denied. It's the asterisk down below, I love you. And Peter is hurt that Jesus would ask 3 times. It's almost like he thinks Peter was not telling the truth. And Peter responds that Jesus knows everything. Because of that, Jesus knows that Peter loves him. Of course, Jesus knows that Peter loves him. These words aren't for Jesus. They are for Peter. It is Peter who needs to be reminded of. This is not a conversation for Jesus. He's not saying these words, but he has to hear this from Peter. He is saying these words for Peter, to hear to himself, to remind him of who he's supposed to be. And obviously, Jesus meant, do you love me more than these boats and these nets and fish and food and family and friends? Because at Peter's lowest moment, he had shown that he loved his life and his skin more than anything else. In his denial, Peter was saying he did not want to die. Who would? He loved the things of this world more than he wanted to follow Jesus to what was clearly his unexpected death. As he denied him not once or twice, but denied him 3 times. That he even knows him. The early Christians reading this text saw themselves in it. How they failed Jesus, and we should too. For no matter how intensely we may feel we love the Lord and we say it with our lips, we're always subject to same moment of weakness and failure. Amen? Our lips say, I love you, Lord, and our actions say anything but. It happens to all of us at one time or another, or more than once. The story of Peter could have ended in that courtyard were it not for Jesus' determination to bring about the resurrection of Peter. You see? This is Peter's resurrection story. He is still in the grave. He cannot forgive himself. He has gone back to fishing because he is not worthy to do anything else. And Jesus has come to resurrect him. This is his story of resurrection. How important it is that we remember the love of God is greater than our ability to deserve it or live up to it. Amen? The love of God is greater than our ability to deserve it or live up to it. We think that sometimes we are living into it. We're good people and we do good things, so that means somehow we've earned the grace of God, the love of God. That's not true. As many times as we do good things, there's many times we do bad things and things that break God's heart. We don't earn that love. That's the challenge we must all face. What is important to us? It's the same question Jesus asked to Peter. Do we like Jesus or do we love him? Because often our actions say we like Jesus. We may even like him a lot. You ever had a boyfriend or girlfriend, you're in that moment of, do you love me? I like you a lot. Same thing, right? Like and love. No, it's not. Do you like Jesus or do you love Jesus? To use language we've used before, are you a follower or a fan? That's what he's asking, what he asks us. And here in Peter's moment, Jesus gives him a chance for each denial to be matched now with an opportunity to confess his love 3 times. 3 denials and 3 times to confess his love. And I wonder if Peter grew in his confidence following this conversation with Jesus. Jesus responds to Peter with 3 similar commands. Feed my lambs, tend my sheep, feed my sheep. So he moves from this fishing imagery into shepherding. That once you do tell me you love me, this is your mission, to feed the sheep. You are a shepherd. Jesus calls for us to care for all those that he loves. We're to care for those around us, particularly those who are in need. We are to minister to those who are both physically hungry and the spiritually hungry. Then our circle of family and friends, and outside our circle of family and friends. We're to sustain and encourage each other, always in the name of Jesus Christ. That's what we're called to do as Christians. To take care of the flock. To tend the sheep if we're going to follow him, and we're all sheep. If one gets away, it doesn't mean 99 are okay. It means we go out and search for the one who's lost, who's in the most trouble. Because that's the way it works. And on this day when we celebrate all the women in our lives, if we're parents or grandparents, biologically or spiritual, we've fulfilled the duty that Christ has given to us to shepherd our children. As we mentioned last Sunday, all the children in this congregation are ours, whether we have children or not, whether they are grown or not grown. They are all our responsibility. The physical care of children is our trust, number one, but also their spiritual growth and their development is up to us as a community of faith. This means we'll care as much for our children's souls and faith development as we care for their nutrition and their physical welfare. That is a piece for all of us. That is tending the sheep. Because Jesus makes it clear that love is an action verb. It's not enough to say that other people know they are loved. They know they're loved, or she knows she's loved, he knows he's loved. That's not enough. That's not an active thing. Love must be followed with action. Notice the word that Jesus uses. Feed, tend, feed. Action verbs in the present tense, not past. And so what ways do you tend and feed Jesus' flock because you love him? How do you show the love that you have for him by showing love for others? What portion of Jesus' flock do you concentrate on? What portion of Jesus' flock are you called to love that you do not? Because there is no portion that is unlovable to Jesus. And then I just skip a little ahead because the next verse is kind of weird, but it's about belts. It's about being pulled this direction. It's all about Peter. He's going to go someplace he doesn't want to go because he's dragged, pulling his belt, not his own. His mission will take him, as we well know, to places he does not want to go. But then he said this to indicate the kind of death by which he would glorify God. But after this, he said to him, Peter, follow me. After 3 years, the disciples have been following him. Jesus says to him, maybe to all of them again, follow me. Now they've seen him after his resurrection 3 times. Peter has proven his love 3 times. These 3 shouldn't be lost on you. He was in the tomb for how many days? 3. Yet Jesus commands again, follow me. But unlike during his time on earth, they're not going to follow Jesus' literal way anymore. He's telling them that. You're not going to follow me in the same way. No longer be with me and them in person. They're going to touch him or hear him anymore in the same way. It's a new way of following Jesus for them, and it's the way we follow Jesus. We don't see him or touch him in the same way, physically. We follow his teachings, are empowered by the Holy Spirit to carry on his work, even though he's no longer physically on earth. We have the same follow. It is the general invitation to discipleship that Jesus makes to us. Follow and be a member of the flock and tend to the other members of the flock. And so the last question I leave with is this: what does it mean to follow Jesus when he says, follow me? It means to live like Jesus. It means to live into the words that he gave us to live into. That we're continually being called by Jesus. It isn't a calling once in a while, it's a calling all the time. Where is Jesus calling you to go? This is not a place where you sit down on a bench and just kind of wait it out. This is a constant move. It's a constant hike. What is God calling you to do now? Where is God inviting you to go so you might closely follow him? What's missing in your life? If you don't feel his presence or you feel like you're not in sync, what is missing from your life? Is it the be alone time? How much time do you spend alone with God, not doing anything else, not even reading your Bible, not even praying, but just being alone? Silence, listening. Maybe it is study. Maybe you really need to delve more into the Bible and understand more about what the Word really means in your life for transformation. Maybe it's being part of a small group, It's Peter, James, and John are the main ones here who are with Jesus. That's 4 people. Remember his inner circle. Even if you include everybody there, it's still 7. Still a smaller group which he's talking to and appearing to. And small groups where we find change, where we can actually be accountable to one another. There's all kinds of small groups. Sometimes a small group is gathering together and chatting about the local news or the movie you watched or the government or something else like that. That's a great small group for affinity, but it's not a small group for accountability. You can tell when you're in a small group, and that's awesome, but that's not the kind of group that's going to change your life. One that talks honestly about where you're at spiritually. It sits around the charcoal fire and asks the question, do you love me? And how are you going to show that? Is the kind of place that's going to change who you are. That's how it worked for Jesus. Small groups, 3s and 4s, 10s and 12s. You've heard it a million times from me. That's the place where most change is going to happen in your spiritual life. Maybe it's showing compassion to difficult people. I don't know what it is. But whatever it is, you got to let God help you to live into it. That's what it means to follow. Follow means to listen and to live like Jesus. So where is he going to appear to you? Where's he going to be waiting for you to come and to speak with him and to gather with him and so he can tell you and talk to you and ask you those questions and hear your answers how are you to go forth and to follow him? That's the question. How are we going to follow him now that his resurrection has happened? Now that those days of high celebration of Easter are gone? How are you going to really live out what it means to follow Jesus? Amen. Hymn of commitment. The very thought of Jesus. We sang a couple songs in first service talking about, I'm a friend of God. It's a hard word to hear sometimes because we don't think that God would come down and be friends with us, like my best buddy hanging out. That God and I would go to a movie, and just go and hang out or gather around a meal. That's the kind of God that we have. A God that's up close and personal. A God that's willing to be present with us in our darkest times, in our brokenness, as well as our celebration. That's the kind of God that we serve. A God that gathers around a charcoal fire. If that's the kind of God you're looking for in life, then you found that kind of God. Whether for the first time or forever. But listen to him. He has much to teach you and to show you, now that the resurrection is here once again, about how we can live resurrected lives every day. Let us stand and sing a hymn of commitment as we gather together. May we receive what it is we need to receive from the presence of Jesus.